I'm currently visiting the Sweden countryside, and it was here at this particular location that I started buying and selling my own cars. Now, I've always been working on my own projects. I remember starting my own Minecraft Let's Play YouTube channel at the age of 10, and at the age of 13 or 14 I was making my own podcast. But it all really started to take off when I started to buy and sell my own cars. In this video I will go through the cars I bought and sold, how much I made from them, and also the key learning lessons from each car that I bought and sold. Now, I love cars. I've been watching Grand Tour and Top Gear and YouTube channels about cars all the time. And I've also been quite entrepreneurial. I've always liked working on my own things, always having side projects since I was a little kid. It's in my blood. And currently in my life I'm making YouTube videos to satisfy my entrepreneurial side. But previously in life I tried a couple of different things before I settled for this. In this video I will tell you the story car by car on how I managed to accidentally make money by flipping cars. It all started off when I was 18 and I got my first job as a security guard. That's when I bought my first car because I needed a way to commute to work. My first car was a 2007 white Toyota Aygo with 63 brake horsepower. It's a 3-cylinder engine. It's one of those cars that's really slow and you measure 0 to 60 using a calendar. The first car is always very special, and I was very happy with my Toyota Aygo. If I had to pick between Walk or Toyota Aygo, I would pick Aygo every day of the week. It was a 4-seater, it was terribly slow, but it was my first car and I loved it, and it was able to take me from point A to point B. It even managed to drive me here, which is an 8-hour drive from where I normally live down in Gothenburg. I owned the car for 6 months, and that's when I learned my first important lessons from buying and selling cars. And that is to always sell your car after 6 months, because that's when the honeymoon period ends. So you may have bought your own car and for the first half a year you really take care of it, you make sure everything's perfect, and then you sort of stop caring. You stop getting used to it. You start getting used to it rather, and the honeymoon phase is ended. That's when you need to sell the car and buy something new that you will take care of even better. So the plan is that we buy a car, and over the next 6 months we baby it. We take care of it so well that we almost automatically increase the value of it. Then we sell it, buy something more expensive, and then again we buy a new car, and we rinse and repeat the process. I bought this car overpriced. I paid $3,000 for it, and I sold it 6 months later for $2,800. If I bought this car at a reasonable price, I would have been able to make a big profit on it because I took care of it so well. So the loss was $200, unfortunately. So the learning lessons I got from this car was to don't buy cars in perfect condition, because they will be too expensive, and it's always nice getting a cheaper price on things and then fixing the easy things yourself. Learning lesson number 2 was to not buy overpriced cars. Don't do it. Pay a fair price. Do some research. Look on other pages on Facebook Marketplace and see what cars normally go for. I also learned that small cars work really well for tall people. I'm 6'2". I'm enormous, at least when it comes to height, and I fit no problem into the Toyota Aygo, which is a small car. When I owned this car, I also learned how to do simple repairs like changing light bulbs and that kind of thing. I also learned that if I touch the light bulb and then plug it into the car, it explodes. So don't do that, kids. Anyways, I got bored of the Aygo. I sold it after 6 months, and I'd made some more money from my job. And so I managed to buy a red Audi TT, which was incredible. I went from 63 brake horsepower to 180 horsepower, and it was incredible. It was a 2001 red low mileage Audi TT, and I bought that car for $3,500. So I'd made some more cash. I was able to buy better cars. Now, this was a bargain. They're normally not that cheap in my country. They normally go for $5,000, but I got this car so cheap because it had so many issues on it, and I was excited to take on a new project. It was mainly issues with bodywork. There were a bunch of dents, the paint was peeling. It was a 20-year-old car at the time, so obviously there were issues. But the car ran fine, and I remember spending 40 hours just next to me here at this location, just working on the bodywork, making sure, turning it from imperfection to perfection. I then also spent 3 hours polishing the faded headlights instead of buying new ones, because obviously I wanted to make some sort of profit off of it. When I replaced the thermostat, actually when a repair shop replaced the thermostat, the oil dipstick broke and I had to replace that myself as well. It's typical with cars. You fix one thing and then something else breaks at the same time. I love this car so much. I gave it so much love, and the main learning lesson from this was to buy cars that need work. Cars that work but need repairs. That way you'll be able to make some profit when you buy and sell cars. The Audi TT was an amazing car. It was fun, fast, cheap, high quality, and I have some amazing memories driving it on the country roads around here. I'd go for long road trips for 8 or 9 hours, and there would be no problems in this car because it was very comfortable and also fast. This car was actually a 4-seater, which some people don't believe, but the back seat is only suitable for malnourished infants. Some people will say that it's a hairdresser's car or a nail technician's car, but I think that's just nonsense. I love my Audi TT, and I think you should have one too. It is an incredible car. Anyways, I bought the car for $3,500 and I sold it for $5,000. And with repairs and everything included, I profited about $500, I think. And that meant that the profit I made from the car just paid for fuel and insurance and that kind of cost. So I was able to run the car mostly for free because I took care of it and I repaired everything on it during the honeymoon phase, the first 6 months. The learning lessons from this car was that I finally realized that, dang, I can make money from buying and selling cars almost effortlessly, because it's something I like doing. I like cars, and it's obviously nice to take care of our own things. And we increased the value in the process. I also learned that Audi makes incredible cars, really high quality. This was a 20-year-old car and it ran like it was almost new. I also learned how to increase value in cars by doing repairs, improving things, and buying ran-down cars and improving them as much as I can. I also learned how to do advanced repairs like bodywork and swapping out components, and that's a really high value skill, because it's when you do those big repairs that you're able to really make a lot of profit and add a lot of value to your car. After I realized that I was able to make money from flipping cars, I bought a Citroen C1 with the purpose of buying it in a bad condition and improving it and then selling it for profit. It was a red Citroen C1. It's the same identical car to the Toyota Aygo, which was my first car. It's just rebranded. It's built in the same factory and everything. And the reason I bought this car is because it's the same as the Aygo, which I've already owned. So I knew all the faults and how to repair the faults and that kind of thing. Now this car was in really rough condition. It had not been loved for a while, and it had paint problems and it had broken buttons in the interior and that kind of thing. So I bought some paint, I bought some replacement parts, and I got to work. And I spent hours and hours just repairing it, turning it from bad condition into mint condition and making it really nice. The only thing I did with this car was to buy it, repair it, and then sell it. So I didn't drive it or anything. It was just purely a experiment to see if I was able to make this work. I bought it for $2,000 and I sold it for $2,700. Now my costs were about $400, which left me with a profit of $300. The learning lessons for this car was, number one, that it's fun to buy and flip cars. It was something I really enjoyed the process, at least. It's something I could see myself doing in the future. I also at this point figured out, this was a couple of years ago, I figured out that I really like cars and that I have a passion for it. And the fact that I bought it just to make some profit and it worked, I was able to do it. At this point in time, I was even thinking about opening my own used car place and buying and selling cars for profit. It was something I felt like I could do. But then I got accepted into the university program I wanted to do, and I started doing that instead. And ultimately I ended up being too poor to continue taking the risks of buying and selling cars and that kind of thing. So I sold both my Audi TT and my Citroen C1 I was owning at the time. Currently I don't have any car, and it saddens me every day, and it's probably the first thing I will buy once I make some money after I'm done with university. After I sold my cars a year ago, I took a break from all kinds of entrepreneurial ventures for a year, and I did that to settle into university. It's always big life changes like that take a lot of time and effort, but I ended up getting so bored, and that's why I decided to start this YouTube channel and see if I can do something with this instead, because I find this process even more enjoyable than flipping cars. I prefer this, but maybe I'll go back to the cars someday or make more videos about cars, because obviously if I make videos about cars I'm able to combine my two passions. But yeah, I like working for myself, I like working alone, so this is a perfect thing for me to do. So if you're interested in following along my journey and see where I end up in life, then click the subscribe button and follow along for this journey. Also, if you want to live here, Also, if you're interested in living here for a couple of days or a week or so, they've actually set up an Airbnb and you can live here too. It's very nice to take a break from the city and actually enjoy the nature for a little bit. I'll leave the link below. Now, for the profit I made from buying and selling used cars, I was able to buy a couple of cheap products that really changed my life. And I'll link that video over there so you can watch it as well. And I hope you found it at least a little bit interesting. Thanks for watching and take care.